we're going to be talking a little bit about the different roles of the staff there, the election day. So the Election Division Command Center, that's our staff at the Election Division in Martinez. There are a bunch of us. We're going to be on the phones. It looks like a phone bank where we're going to be there answering phone calls about if there's anything that's going on at the different polling places that we need to be aware of. If there's like a machine that's not working, we need to run out there. If there's an issue, we're there to try to be the eyes and ears and respond as soon as we can.
We're your support.
We're your support.
So if there's any problems that happen at your polling place, then you would contact the command center and we would fix it for you. The command center number is inside the guide, and the guide is this book, and this book will be available to you guys on election day. There will be lots of copies of this book around, so it is all the steps and everything that you might need to know. If you don't want to ask somebody, it's in there. So everything's in there, including the phone number for the command center.
And the next role is
We have to use our cell phone, make a call, or we have to call phone equipment.
You can use the inspector's phone.
yeah.
Yeah.
So getting that, the inspector is the basically the lead.
Yeah.
The lead person at each polling place has a lead. Their job is to kind of oversee all the clerks who are there. If anything's going on, they're sort of that first point of contact. You talk to them first. Maybe they'll have the answer. They have a little bit extra or more training. They've been they have a lot more elections under their belt and that sort of thing. Clerks are the role that you guys are going to be in. Basically, providing customer service for the voters. We'll get a little bit into more what the data, what you guys will be doing, but providing customer service, answering questions, having people sign in a roster to show that they are registered to vote, issuing ballots, those sort of things. Poll watchers are also the role they are. Dale, if you want to explain this a little bit, but poll watchers are they're usually from campaigns or people outside where they're making sure that you guys as our staff and inspectors, they're running the elections properly. They're making sure that voters aren't being intimidated. Or right? Is that the opposite?
No, the poll watchers, they're going to come to your location, so they'll be there kind of watching the poll place. They do exactly what their name says. They have a set of rules, and those rules will be posted inside the polling place. But they're not allowed to take anything out of the polling place, and they can't hassle any of the voters or anything of that nature. Their whole role is to watch.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what they do, and they stand in your polling place. You guys have them in the polling places, and we have them in Martinez at the election office. They just come and watch us. That's their right. They want to do that, so they just watch us to make sure that we're not doing anything that we're not supposed to be doing.
So they have special signs.
They have special.
signage.
Nope, they look just like everybody else,
Yeah.
but if you see somebody just standing there all day long,
Yeah.
that's a poll watcher.
Yeah, you might be able to. Ask what they're doing. Exit pollsters. We don't run into that a ton, but they might be outside just asking when voters leave. They'll ask, hey, who did you vote for? So if you're watching the presidential election, you're probably wondering how, like 2 minutes after like a state is done voting for the night, they say, oh, Michigan is voting for this candidate. Well, because they have exit pollsters outside of the polling places who basically will do a survey of voters asking who they voted for.
They also have rules. They have to stay 25 feet away from the exit door. They're on the exit part of the polling place, and they have to stand 25 feet away from it. They can't come in. But they are allowed to ask voters, who did you vote for? And the voter can say who they voted for, or they can decline to state. That's their right. They don't have to say what they voted for. But those are exit pollsters.
And last one we might run into at the election day are news media personnel. So if you're watching like election day coverage, you're going to see where all the TV networks will have like the pictures. It looks like a people voting and all that sort of stuff. They go out to some of the polling places. You don't have to talk to them. Our office will designate somebody to talk to them about how things are going and everything like that. You don't have to be in, if you don't want to in front of the camera, but you be mindful that they are there. And some voters, it might bother them a little bit, but they have a right to be there. It's just, you just have to kind of roll with it, basically.
And if you don't wanna talk to them, you don't have to. You don't have to
Yes.
even be in their pictures. You can say, I don't permit you to take pictures of me, and that's fine too.
Right.
They're not allowed to take pictures without your permission anyway.
But they are allowed to take pictures for other voters.
So pictures are sort of done, selfies. You see everybody's taking selfies. We can't police people taking selfies of their picture, of themselves.
Yeah.
If they wanna do that. But they can't take pictures of other people without their permission. So that
Yeah.
same thing applies to the news media.
Mhm.
Permission needs to be granted.
Right. So next I'm gonna talk a little bit about the election code. This is like the California Elections Code. It basically, we have to follow some of our procedures to the letter of this book. So, for example, when we send out our vote by mail ballots last Monday, we sent them out 29 days before the election. The state elections code says this is the date when you can send those out. So there are certain rules that we have to, abide by. And just a little bit, we have different types of elections. Usually they're, during the even years. So we have the presidential primary election that happened in June. This one we're going to have this in a couple weeks is the presidential general election, where it's not just parties picking their candidates. It's the consensus of everybody picking the president. In 2 years, it's going to be the gubernatorial election, where the state of California will be asked to vote for the governor, and there will be a bunch of other races on there. And sometimes there'll be special elections where, like a jurisdiction, like a school district or a city will ask, for a tax measure or something, and they'll pay to put it on the ballot at a given time. So this is just a reminder of the calendar that you guys are going to want to be aware of before the election day. The last day to register to vote is next Monday, the 24th. So, I'm sure, is everybody in here registered to vote? No, is it? Okay, so that's good. So, if there's anybody, friends or family, or, that who want to register to vote, or you're not sure, or if they're not sure if they've moved or changed their address, next Monday is the deadline. Nope. Let's see here. The last day to request a vote by mail is on Tuesday, November 1st. That's important for you guys too, because one thing, if you're working all day and you're at a polling place, is you're going to want to vote too, and try to figure out when you can accomplish that. So, do you guys all vote? Who here votes by mail? Okay, and who here votes in person? Okay, so if you vote in person, you might want to consider that and voting in either this one time voting by mail, because it'll be easier, or consider, we have a few other options. We have early voting sites throughout Contra Costa County where you can go, and the closest one here would be Santa Rosa City Hall, but there are others throughout the county. You can go week before election day and vote the same process. And they're open until 7 o'clock at night on the weekday, and they're open on Saturday. So it's just, that way you can get it done early and not have to worry about it on election day. And on Monday, November 7th, and election day, some sites are going to be opening up a little bit. We're going to be setting up the day before, so that might be something to be aware of. Just your inspector would contact you about that. As far as the setup day, Mark?
Yes, so some of the polling places are allowing us to set up the furniture in advance, so that you wouldn't be so rushed in the morning, because you have to get there really early on election day. You have to be there at 6 a.m. on election day. But if you have the opportunity to set up early, set up the furniture and whatnot, just a little bit early the day before, that would probably ease the time that you have to come in. It'll all be up to your inspector, because he's the boss, or he or she is the boss of the polling place. But you will either set up the furniture the day before or the day of. It will really just depend on what your inspector would like to do. But if you're interested in helping your inspector set up, when they call you, just let them know that you'd like to help set up. It helps everybody in the end, so that maybe you get 15 more minutes before you have to be there in the morning, because it is kind of an early
Yeah.
day.
You just sleep in a little bit.
So we will be contacted by the inspector on Monday, right?
You would probably be contacted by your inspector before that.
Before that. So
Yes,
I-
after you're placed into a polling place, your inspector will call everybody on their team,
Okay.
just to get everybody on the same page, and let you know any specifics about the polling place, and if you have any questions about the polling place, about, you know, if you can bring coffee in, or
Right.
if they have food,
Right.
you know, these are things you'll wanna know in advance, so, you know, ask your inspector, because they've been to that polling place probably many times before, they'll have a complete understanding of all the ins and outs of that, parking, etc. So you'll hear from them as soon as you get placed, you know, within a week after you get placed. Okay?
Most likely we are placed. It's Alameda County or Contra Costa County?
Contra Costa
Contra
County.
Costa
Oh,
County.
Contra Costa.
Yeah, we're here, I mean, even if you guys, yeah, we're placing in Contra Costa.
Okay.
So the next time is a little bit how we divide up our county as opposed to like the jurisdiction wise. So when you're passing out, when you're a little bit understanding of how the ballots work that you're gonna be giving to the voters. So basically, we start off like, you have the different counties, and then, you know, the state's divided up into different counties. It's almost like, looks like a jigsaw puzzle. And then we further divide it here. This is Contra Costa County, so you have all the different cities, East County here, West County, Central, and then down here in the Tri-Valley. And for our purposes, as far as how we do our ballots, we further divide into little geographical areas here, and we call these precincts. So we have the different precincts, and we lump several of them together to make a polling place. So right here, you'll see we have 3 of them in here in Concord that are surrounded here in the purple, and we have each one of these, and that polling place would be basically in the middle. And each polling place has a unique individual identification for our office, so we can identify them. So, and that would be, so for example, here on this bag, like this would be polling place 800, for example. So in each polling place, or actually in each precinct, we have, it can vary the number of ballot types we have. So for example, if you have in like say here in this says Concord 801, we could have in this we could have 3 different ballot types, because there might be 3. For example, say you have 3 different. Not everybody who lives in this one's going to have the same thing on their ballot as this one, because there might be 2 school districts there. There might be 2 water districts, or 2 districts who provide sewers, or just different things. So it always kind of varies, and it can be divided by jurisdiction lines. It can be divided by freeways, or just based on that, that's going to lead to the different ballot types. So be aware of that when you're signing up a voter, and it says like, they get a specific ballot type, which we'll have on our roster of voters. Just be aware that's why they're getting that ballot type, because we want people to vote on the issues that matter to them. So.
And we're gonna go over it in depth in a little bit, so we're gonna really hammer that whole idea home.
So are there any questions on that?
So I'm not sure this is kind of early to ask. Is for example, if I'm like in San Ramon, others still in the Daniel still in the Contra Costa County, is that possible? I can stop by there and vote, cast my vote. Is that possible or no? You have to go to San Ramon to the area you belong to.
You can vote. If you work in Martinez and then you live in Walnut Creek, and you don't have time to get to Walnut Creek because you're working in Martinez, you can vote in Martinez, but you won't be eligible to vote because Martinez ballot isn't going to have Walnut Creek's school board on it, or Walnut Creek's councilman on it. It's only going to have for Martinez, for that group of people. Can you go back to that last slide? Nope, back one more. Yeah. Okay, so can I see the little pointer for a second? So this is an actual map, and it's Pleasant Hill and Concord. And what he was saying is that all these three locations, these are all little precincts. And all those 3 precincts, they make one polling place. And the ballot types within it is gonna have 3 different ballot types, because there's 3 different precincts there, and they have little bit slight differences. But most of the things that are on their ballot is the same, because they live in the general same area. But if you lived in a different area, like what you were saying, you could still vote. You would absolutely still be able to vote, but you might not be eligible for everything that's on that ballot because you don't live there. So we try to make it so that you're only eligible to vote for the things that are close to where you reside, which makes sense. You don't want somebody else voting for the taxes that you have to pay. So that's why there's all the different ballot types to make up for the differences. If there's like a water main running between your house and the next door neighbor's house, that might make a little difference on the ballot. Maybe they vote for a different water board than the people next door to you do. Does that make sense a little bit more?
Yeah.
So I can-
people should have received their.
We already mailed, right?
email.
Emailed, right? We already received, right?
Yeah.
So you had to bring your own and sign, right?
Yeah.
Sealed, right?
We have our own ballot. It
Okay,
Yes.
goes to
so
our
based on
house.
where you live.
Well, because
You guys voted by
you
mail.
guys vote by mail. I'm talking about when you're in the polling place.
Right.
So
This
you
is
can
all
pick up
happening
on
in the
that.
polling place.
Oh, you can pick up? Oh, because we registered for mail.
You guys are
Oh.
vote by mail, so
Oh,
you
that's how
get
we
your ballot in
yeah.
the mail.
Oh, okay.
But if you are going to the polling place
Okay.
and you go to your correct polling place, they'll have the ballot type for you
Oh.
because you're at the right place. But if you go to the wrong polling place, they don't have the right ballot for you because you're in the wrong spot. But you still get to vote on all the state measures.
Yep.
The state measures are the same across the state.
So basically means.
The local measures would be different though, because you can't vote for the same things.
So one
So
polling
if
place.
somebody else come to our polling station, then we need to tell them which one they cannot vote on.
No. We're gonna go into an
We'll go
exercise
into
in a
all
moment
this.
that's going to really
Okay.
Hammer
make
it
this a
home.
little bit easier to understand.
So there's
Okay.
no multiple like ballot in one polling place. Only one type for one type of ballot in one polling place.
Well, the polling places can be comprised of up to 6 different ballot types.
Oh.
Okay, so it's not just one ballot
Oh.
in each polling place.
Oh.
There's a grouping. See, all 3 of those, if there's one polling place in those 3 precincts, it would have 3 ballot types.
Mhm.
So they each have something that's the same and also a little bit different. So we give them another
Right.
ballot type. We're gonna go over that a little bit more
Mhm.
momentarily.
Okay, just
Promise.
quick. So for those, we received the ballot already, but we can drop off like
Any-
at a.
Yeah, you can drop them off anywhere.
Yeah, anything.
Anywhere in the county. In the
Yes.
same county.
Yes,
Correct.
in the county. It has to be in the county though that
Mhm.
you're voting for. So
Right.
if you guys are not Contra Costa County, if you don't live in Contra Costa County and you live in, what's our neighboring county? Alameda. Okay, so if you live in Alameda County, you would need to drop it off at an Alameda County drop off place, so one of theirs. You couldn't do it
Or in
in
the
Contra
mail.
Costa County, or it would go in the mail.
Okay, so those were good questions. So just a little bit about some of the equipment now. We'll go through this quickly. This is the M100 ballot scanner. So this is the piece. There are 2 pieces here. There's the scanner piece that's right here, and then there's this large metal box right here. And so that's the piece where when people have we have 3 ballot cards this time. That's where they'll go. They'll feed them in through here one at a time. And the other piece that we're looking at here, the other place where the piece of voting equipment is the AutoMark. Now this is from the Help Americans HAVA, or the Help Americans Vote Act. This is one where the person, if you're hearing impaired or it's hard to see, like it'll talk you through the different things you'll see, and you'll have it'll either have like big print so you can, and it's interactive, and anybody can actually use this piece of equipment, but it's kind of its main focus was because of those who have like those disabilities. Let's see here. We have 2 types of voting booths. The blue one, which is a single one with the dividers up, it has a light, and then we have this one that has 4 voting stalls. There's one that's here for the handicap, it's a little bit lower. And here, this is important, which what will be at the site is this blue ballot drop-off bag. And if you come over here, it's important to have this card here. It either sits like this, or it can sit this way. And there's two types of ballot envelopes that can go in here. It's either they're like you guys were talking about earlier, the vote by mail, or we have these provisional ballots, and we'll get into explaining a little bit about that more, about the differences between the two.
Yeah, putting up that directional sign will help the voter so that they don't have to ask you guys where they put that purple envelope. They can just see the purple envelope goes into the blue ballot bag. Any envelope goes into that blue ballot bag. So it's just a sign to help them help themselves.
Okay, so now we have just a little bit about some of the signs and items here. We have this display board. It looks like you have those old science projects from back in the day. It just has the Voter Bill of Rights.
And the poll watchers rules.
And it has the poll watchers rules like we were talking about earlier for those who are poll watchers and what they can and can't do. Just a couple other.
How to mark the ballot.
Oh, it has how to mark. Yeah, it gives you directions too on how to mark the ballot, because that's a question that some people might have when it comes up.
The one thing you'll have to do is the sample ballot.
What's that?
So that whole board is going to come with all of the pieces already on it. It'll have all of those posters on it. The only thing it's not going to have on it is the sample ballot. That's up to one of you guys to clamp it onto it. You see it there? See that? Yep, that right there. That's the sample ballot. That's the only thing that needs to be done to that board. Is you'll put it up someplace near the entrance of the polling place so that the voters can read their rights, poll watchers, and any other information that is pertinent to the voters. But you also want to put a sample ballot, and we'll provide that, and you'll clip it onto that board. That way, if a voter doesn't have their sample ballot and they don't remember what's on it and they want to read it, they don't have to hold up their lines. They can just walk over and read the sample ballot. Okay?
We'll give you guys two American flags. One is a laminated American flag, and the other one is a flag in a wooden stand. These are to be used to be outside of the polling place to direct the voters so they know that it's the site where the polling places are located. It makes it distinguishable, so you can kind of follow our signs and you can see the flags and you know exactly where you're supposed to go if you're a voter. The alternate language board. This is one where we have these different these facsimiles where if voter is fluent in a different language other than the English and Spanish that's on the ballot, you can put these, it's like a sheet over, and we have it in Chinese, Vietnamese, Japanese, Korean, Hindi, and Tagalog, and so they can take one of those and they can put it over the ballot, and it'll basically you can translate what's already on the existing ballot, so it's like a cover sheet, and they can make their vote based off with that.
Yes, it was done by the census, so that's how we know who in Contra Costa County might need these alternative sample facsimile ballots. And so it's done by the census. They come over and they let us know where the pockets of people are that require a different language, a ballot in a different language. If perchance that we don't have all the languages and somebody comes in, let's say they speak Russian, and that's all they speak. Well, that's okay, because we also have numbers in the guide that we can give to get them over to the Secretary of State's office, their language services department, and they speak about 80 different languages, and they'll be able to help walk that voter through. We're also hoping to have at least bilingual speakers at the places that have require those different languages. So that's something that we're hoping to gain as well.
So now we're going to talk a little bit. This is the roster station. This is like the first table when a voter walks in. This is likely one of the places where, as a clerks for the first time, where you would be working at the polling place. So here we have, clerks sitting here, clerks sitting here, clerks sitting here. We divide the rosters alphabetically into 3 separate parts. So here we have A to F, here we have G to O, and here we would have P to Z. So voter walks in, and they would go to the right place depending upon their last name. Taylor's going to walk you through a little exercise about that in just a few minutes here. But we would have update cards for if the voter
Go to the next slide, because it zooms in on all of those things.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
So first we would have the combined voter roster, the cover pages, like they look like the sheets you guys have in front of you.
Okay, you're not gonna have all the pages that he's gonna show you. We just are gonna have an activity, but the size of the roster that you guys will get is probably about this size. But the one that you guys have is just for an activity that we're gonna do, processing voters. But walk them through.
So these are so these are like the regular white pages. So if a person like, you would like find their name and then set them up, or have them sign their name. The combined voter roster.
Okay, one more time, yeah.
Okay, so it would have the here you would have the cover with which you would sign all the names of the people who are working there. You'd have this the regular white pages. This
Click again.
oh, it goes one at a time.
Yes.
Nice. All right, so the regular white. So this one will have the it looks like the page of the roster with all all their names on it. The yellow supplemental pages. These are ones that are added to our rosters like at the last minute as
You
far as
guys
if
won't
there are
have
any
this one.
changes. Let's see. This is the assisted voter page. So if you have somebody who comes in and they have somebody who walks in with them because to help to assist them with the ballot, they have to sign and say that they assisted a voter, who they assisted, what time, and sign their name. This is notes for the inspector, so if there's anything that comes up at the polling place throughout the course of the day, we make a note in that, so that way the inspector can look it over, and then at the end, when we collect everything and we go back and we look over, like, you know, how the day went, we can go, and if there's issues that we need to address, we can go back and address them. And at the end here, this is a worksheet. We'll show how this is a little bit easier too, but basically you can, a worksheet for just basically totaling up the number of voters you see on each of your roster pages, so that way you can come back later and have a total of number of voters who are in place.
And we're gonna do an exercise on that, so, to help really understand how that works.
Three more little things. We have the ballot selection ticket. So this is after a voter has signed their name and we find it on the roster. We put their ballot type, we write it down on this ticket so that it goes to the next table we have. So it's just sort of streamline and make the process easier.
You guys
so
have a
makes
page
two
in
inch-
your packet, and there's 5 on there. But that's not how it looks. It actually is a little piece of paper like this, but we didn't want to give you 5 little pieces
You
of
guys will
paper.
see some of how it works in the whole thing in a few minutes. The update, this is in case we indicate that the voter needs to update the registration. We have these cards at the table, and then we have the voter index. The voter index is designed to just overall periodically throughout the course of the day, we have to update that index and show like these are people who have voted, and put it like on the display out on the door outside of the.
They're not going to do that.
Okay. Got it. So you're not going to do it. That's just what it is. Okay.
The voter index is for the poll watchers. Its whole purpose is for the poll watchers, and it's not a high priority, but it is a priority that we will have to update throughout the day, every 2 hours up until 6 p.m. And I'm going to show you guys how we do that when I get over to my part, and I'll help you guys understand how to process.
This is the eligibility review station. You guys, I'm going to go through this quickly. You guys will more than likely not, or you guys won't be at this station doing this, but this includes, or this is, we don't foresee you guys starting with this, but say a voter comes in and you don't find them on the roster, or they're at the wrong place or something like that. This is where we're going to send them to. Basically, we're going to try to see, we call it the eligibility review station. We'll see if they're registered to vote, if they're supposed to go to a different polling place, just sort of figuring out why we don't find their name right away. So just briefly, that will include the master voter list, so it'll be all the voters who live, whether you're a vote by mail voter or vote in person at those locations. A provisional voter roster list. So if we issue a provisional ballot, we have them sign up just like they're signing up on that roster, but we have them sign up on that sheet instead. The provisional envelope is what they have to fill out before, along with their ballot. And this is just one that they need to double check to see where they vote. They can call that number to look it up. And this is just the spoiled ballot bag. And this is the other spot where we foresee you guys might be working, is at the ballot station. This is where, once you take this ballot selection ticket, you take it to this table where we have our clerks here, where they will check to make sure, they'll check the ticket, and then they'll issue the correct ballot to the voter. The items you'll see will include the official ballot box, the 3-card ballots with their A, B, and C, and then the ballot ticket spindle. So we'll show you again later on, but like once you've been given the ticket by the voter, you put the ticket on the spindle. So, and then items that you're going to be using for when the polls close are this red security bag. The red security bag, you'll be including the memory card from the M100, from the ballot scanner, and some of the others, the roster and some of the other information. So that way we bring it back to us and it gives us the count of everything. It includes the keys for the scanner as well. And the ballot transport box. This is what we're going to take the ballots that were scanned through the scanner. They go into that box. They're taken out of that metal box and put in there, brought back to our office. And then these are just so that way we can keep track of the vote by mail ballots, the provisional envelopes, and the auxiliary bin ballots. So what are the expectations we have from you guys on election day? Well, we expect you to work from 6 a.m. to about 9:30 when we're closed, because we want you guys to stay the whole day, because you know admittedly it's a long day, but it
goes by really fast.
It goes by really fast, and it kind of she's not just saying
your
that.
leg, I promise.
And I'll tell you, it ebbs and flows too, because you'll get a wave of people who vote at the very beginning, and then it'll be kind of a lull, and then you'll get the lunch crowd, and then there'll be a lull. Then you'll get sort of that after school, or people who left work early, sort of, like with you to go watch the election results. They'll come in at like 3 or 4, and then you'll get a line of people toward the end as the commuter crowd comes back in. So there are a lot of breaks that are sort of built into it, and then it's based on the discretion of the inspector. But as far as like who, when you can take off for lunch and stuff like that, some of them make it a party, and they'll have like coffee in the beginning, or like sort of they really they make it sort of like the family atmosphere sort of thing. And that thing is at 9:30. I mean, the incentive is if you guys are really on everything, and you keep tabs on the number on the roster and everything, you can get out of you could get out of there a little bit earlier than 9:30 if you all work collectively. Remain politically neutral and dressed, and reading material and conversations. So no Trump shirts, no Make America Great Again hats, no I'm with her shirts, no Hillary stuff. And it goes even deeper than that. I've heard our Taylor doing other presentations with some of our other trainers. No, like you can't even wear no George Washington or Abraham Lincoln or any political, if it's in.
They stood for a party at one time.
They were party heads at one point. So
We don't want to seem like we're lobbying for one thing or the other.
So if there's a question about it, then if you're in doubt, then don't wear it. I mean, what you guys are wearing in here is like perfect, so you don't have to worry about any.
She's fine.
So,
I don't think.
where do you meet? Meet in the morning is going to depend on where your polling place is. Your inspector, after these trainings and after they get their teams all set up, they'll go contact all their clerks of their staff, and you'll know which place you're supposed to meet at. So if you're supposed to meet at the LDS church somewhere, that's your meeting place for that. So let's see. we really take the time to review this coworker reference guide because just, I mean, if there's something, I mean, I don't think Taylor and I miss it, or we're gonna miss anything. We're pretty good. But if we do, then it'll be, you know, go through it and sort of see, you know, if there's stuff that you weren't sure what I was talking about, like at the ballot, you know, the roster table or the ballot table. Just, you know, kind of glance it over, and if there's, so you know where things are too. If you have to troubleshoot something, you know where it is, and just keep this handy. And also, lastly, just you know, just be willing to help the voters. You know, it's sort of a role where it's like providing customer service. So you're kind of in that role where you're the waiter at the restaurant. You're the clerk behind the counter sort of thing. People are asking you for questions. So you know, just try to be as helpful as you can.
You guys will have scheduled lunches and scheduled breaks. There'll be times that you guys can leave the building. It won't be 2 people at the same time because we still need to be able to man the polling place. You guys can bring stuff to entertain yourself as long as it's not political. Bring your tablets, bring your iPhone, you know, bring magazines as long as it's not, you know, the battle of the battle of it all on the front. You don't want to offend anybody. So if you do bring anything, make sure that what you bring is not political. But you guys are welcome to bring anything. We had a gal last time who brought magazines and just ripped out all the recipes that she wanted. Something she always wanted to do and she never had time, but now she had time. So it needs to be something that you guys can just put down in a minute, drop it right in your lap, and help the voter if they come over. Yes?
Inside or outside?
It's inside.
Inside.
Inside. And when you guys are dressing, also try to remember it's November, so it's going to be freezing in the morning, and then it'll kind of be warm during the day, so layers are probably appropriate, and then it'll be cold again. So make sure that you remember to dress appropriately for that. Yes?
So the size of the voting station is the same or different? Like
It differs.
It varies.
It depends on...
You're equipped by how many staff?
Well, the minimum staff that you guys would have is maybe one precinct, so 1 ballot tablet, and then you guys would have 5 people manning it. That's the minimum, but it goes all the way up to 16 people manning the polling place. So it just varies by the amount of voters that will be coming in, the size of your polling place. There's a few things that it depends on, and there's equations that they do at the elections office that hash all that out and figure out what you guys are going to be taking on as far as voters coming in.
Right.
Yes.
We are not supposed to explain any propositions, state issues.
No.
We will provide you. We will have.
Because you mentioned customer service.
No, I understand.
You can read it. You can read it out loud to somebody, but you can't.
They ask a question like whether is that like we have some issue like you are voting for the Costco to open a new store in Pleasanton.
Okay.
Yes or no? They are confused. Is that this is a yes or this is no? I'm for the issue or against the issue.
Right. You can't do that. You
cannot-
can read it to them with no inflection in your voice, but you can't. Yes, vote for this proposition says yes or no. So you want to make sure because you don't want them to think that you're inferring. When the poll watchers will see that.
And we are able to explain the meaning of the proposition.
No, because it's the meaning that you perceive.
You cannot. The example of this Costco, because if the bill is to forbid it, that Costco to open.
You can't explain it. That's just that's
cannot
state law.
But here's the thing: I believe at the polling places we have the guides, right?
Yes.
Okay. Well, we have like, you can let them know we do have voter information guides from the state. We have voter information guides from the county, so at least you can't tell them, about the. And we don't even. I mean, the Costco one is Alameda, is Pleasanton, but you can't. You're not that way. You're not in the position of telling them one way or the other. But they can read it and see the impartial.
Okay.
This is what it is. So.
Okay. Thanks.
That's not our jobs. We can read it, and if they need assistance, we can assist them in marking the ballot what they say, go ahead and mark it, but not, oh, this one? You like this? Me too, that's great. No. You can be a pencil and you can read, but that's it. But you can't explain, because then you could, be swaying them.
Yeah, and
Definitely in trouble.
and it's a tough thing because it's like, it's human nature. You want to be, you're trying to help sort of thing, but I mean it's the line you have to kind of walk that fine line when you're doing it. So.
Yeah. For the dressing code, which color should be avoided?
You can have red, white, and blue on.
You can wear red, white, and
if you'd like, but you can't have anything political. No yes on no or
No donkey and.
no donkeys or elephants.
blue. No donkeys or elephants.
Yes.
Yeah, the question is that if the voters are couples or sisters, they want to discuss their voting preference, and they talk while they are casting their vote. Is that allowed? They just say, hey, I'm going to vote this one. Vote between them, yeah. Now it's us. Yeah.
They have to be very quiet.
Yeah.
It has to be a very quiet type conversation between two people, but we don't want people talking. Unless you're assisting, then you can assist and you can help them out. But we don't want, loud conversation because that distracts other voters that are trying to vote, and they like it quiet. Voters want to vote in peace. And they just want to have their, however long, 10, 15 minutes it takes to fill out that ballot, they want to do it quietly.
So we don't separate them if they want to come together.
No, up to 2 people can go into a voting, 3 people. One person and 2 assistants can come in and help that voter vote. I mean, let's say the day before they got in a bike accident. Oh, they broke both their arms, and they bring somebody in and they say, I broke both my arms, if you can believe that. They come in and they help. I have got my assistant here, so can they help? Yes, absolutely. If they want you to help, you go help. I can help you, I'll read it to you and I'll fill it in since obviously you can't, but that's it.
So it's not like what she asked, it's a couple can go there, they are just, there's nothing wrong with it, just those couple want to go together, they cannot go together, right?
They wouldn't stand in the same booth.
Can they? I think that's like they say, oh, I mean just come in one booth, have two ballots. They will fill out.
They would need to be updated on that assistant list because they assisted each other.
Oh.
Yeah.
So you have to separate them. Say, hey, you go first, and then.
Well, we've got multiple voting booths that are set up. One voting booth houses 4 people. One is an individual. So if they wanted to be,
Next to each other.
they could make that happen. You don't even have to use a voting booth. They could sit on the floor if they like, or they can go to a table if there's a table and they want to vote there.
Yeah, the voting booths are just because some people like privacy.
Yeah. So I mean, if that happens, ask your inspector, because that person, he or she will know definitely the rules about how they want to conduct their polling place. So if you have any questions and we haven't answered them for you about what if type questions, your inspector would be the person to ask.
They might have already come across them. Yeah.
So to be clear, unless someone signs in as an assistant for that person, you can go together to that same booth.
Yes.
Otherwise,
No. Separate booths.
But they can come into the building and then discuss
Before they.
privately and then cast vote.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's fine.
they can bring material, right, to the booth, like whatever they kind of want to remember.
Yeah,
They
they
have a
can bring.
They could bring your
They can bring
sample,
their sample ballot.
Oh.
Lots of people bring their sample ballot in. We actually encourage voters to bring their sample ballot. It even says, bring this into the polling place with you.
Yeah.
It's encouraged. That way you have a quick reference, and you're not just reading the ballot for the first time going, what? What? So, those types. So we encourage that, to bring in that extra, anything that you need extra to help you mark the ballot.
So Taylor, just one more question for, I can bring in like a laptop and if there's nobody there, I can work on some other thing, not political thing, but some other things, right? I can do like.
As a poll worker, yes.
Yeah.
But you need to be able to put it down quick enough,
Yeah.
You need to be able to, a laptop is a little bit more cumbersome than a tablet. But if you've got a small one, like one of those, if you've got a 20 inch, excuse me for a second, you don't want to make the voters think that that they're interrupting you.
Right.
You know, you want, because we're there for them, so, you know, it's gotta be something easy that you can put down quickly.
So can you tell us during the whole day is when is the peak time, when is like the almost normal day?
Hmm?
Over the kind of the whole 12, 13 or 15 hours?
Explain a little bit.
So like one is a busy hour, I know it's after work, maybe after 5 or 4, it'll be busy for that evening, but during the day may be quiet, right? Lunchtime maybe.
Yeah, it's gonna vary as far as how busy it is. There's
All
no,
the polling places are different. They all function differently. It just depends on where it's located. If it's right near downtown, maybe people can go on their breaks, you know.
Right.
If it's in a more rural area, maybe not so many people are coming during those weird lulls.
if you're in a place that has a lot of families there, you're gonna have a lot of traffic, right before and after school. Or if it's just all just,
It will depend, but
Yep.
we don't want to scare you. I'm feeling that we might be going down the scary path, so I'm gonna, okay, one more question.
We need to bring our ID, right?
No California ID, do not ask for it. It is a
No,
state law.
we have to bring, right?
you guys do? No.
Yeah, we don't need that.
No.
We don't need that.
So how can we tell who is who?
Who is who? I'm the volunteer.
How can you tell who is who? Well, your inspector's gonna call you guys,
Okay.
and nobody's gonna know the secret location of your polling place.
No, not this, I mean, there's a voter comes in, how can I tell you're John Smith?
I'm gonna tell you.
Okay.
We're gonna do that. We're gonna cover that right
And
now.
most times, your signature is your identifier, basically, for us going back and looking at things.
Okay, so we're gonna cover all of that in this next section. Going back, going forward. Okay, so a snapshot of your day. What does it look like for you guys? We think that you guys will be handling 2 major roles while you're there. One is going to be issuing ballots at the ballot station, and the other is going to be having the voters sign in their signature on that at the roster station. Paul talked a little bit about the eligibility review station. We don't think that you'll work there, but basically what it is if you can't be found in the roster, you'll send them over to this table. We think more seasoned clerks will be working at this table. Now you guys will probably work here at some point during the day because you guys are going to have a lot of different jobs. You're not going to be sitting doing the same thing all day long. That would be really boring. So we want you guys to, be able to do a bunch of different jobs. Now we know that you don't know anything about the eligibility review station, but the inspector knows that also. So then when you go and you're sitting there, you have any questions after he tells you how it goes, go ahead and ask him. He's there, he or she is there to help. They already are expecting lots of people to have questions. There's no questions that are stupid. So go ahead and ask if you have any questions about any job that you're asked to perform and you don't know how to do it. You're going to assist voters, customer service, and language services, or, that's what you'll do. And you're going to help set up. So you'll set up the furniture, position the furniture around the polling place, put the voting booths up, put signage on the walls, put that display board up in the front, alternative language board if you guys have one. If you have the flag, the stand-up flag, you're going to go put that out on the curb probably so that if somebody was driving by and they had a vote by mail, oh, there's a polling place. So they could pull in and they could drop their vote by mail in this bag. So talking about signage, when you guys are hanging up signs, we want you to put tape around your hand and so that the sticky side is out, and then put it on the back of the poster or the flag and post it on the wall. And I only tell you this because in June, we saw this when we went out to polling places. We don't want to see any tape, no tape showing. We want to show respect to the flag and also to the remaining posters that you guys will be hanging up so that it looks like this, nice and clean, no blue tape. Okay? The next thing I'm going to show you is the roster station, and I'm going to show you what your job would be if you worked here. I'm going to walk you through it, kind of narrate. And this is how you would process voters if you were working at the roster station. You are one of these clerks right here, and the voter's going to come up and give you their name. You will verify their address, and then you're going to look in the combined voter roster. It's alphabetical by last name. When you find it, there's a signature box next to that name, and that voter would then sign it. There's also a column called ballot type, And that's that 4-digit number that goes on this ballot selection ticket. You give that to the voter and direct them over to the ballot station. Afterwards, there's this voter index, and it's got all the names identical to the other one, except it's just a list of names, and you're just going to check mark, make a notation, a dot, a tick line, anything you guys want that signifies that that voter came in and signed that combined voter roster. Okay? So that's the main job right there. Okay.
They don't need to show ID?
No, there is a state law, no ID is required, and I'm going to tell you how you can flesh out a person that you might not be able to identify quickly, but that happens in just a second, so give me one moment. Okay. This is a really big key rule at the elections. A voter has to sign one of these rosters one time, only one time. So they can sign this combined voter roster or the supplemental voter roster, which is at the roster station, or they would sign this provisional voter roster if they got sent to the eligibility review station. But they have to sign a roster, one time in order to be issued a ballot. Make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So now we're going to do an activity using the packets you have. Does everybody have a packet and a pen?
Yeah.
Okay. Does anybody not have a packet? How's that? One person?
Also, anybody need water?
We needed a packet. That's right.
Did you need a
You
packet?
need a packet? That's just something missing here. No?
Sorry, I think you drink it.
Oh, sorry.
Oh,
Okay.
I got it.
can I have a...
No, just kidding.
I'm very sorry.
Okay. So the way that this activity works is you guys are going to process voters, just like you guys would do at the roster station. So where I'm going to call out a bunch of different voters' names, you guys are going to find them in the combined voter roster. So in your packet, in front of you, the first page is the roster cover. The 3 pages that are on the other side of that, those are roster pages. That's where the voter would come in and sign. Okay? If you're looking at that page also, there's a column there listed and it's called ballot type. You see it? The ballot type has 4-digit numbers inside of it. That's the number that you would transfer over to the ballot selection ticket, which is on the next page. So you've got 5 ballot selection tickets on a page. You're going to take that 4-digit number and transfer it over onto one of those ballot selection tickets. In real life, you would put it on one of these papers and give it to the voter. Okay? After you put the 4-digit number onto the ballot selection page that you guys have, the next page is a voter index. So it's a list of all the names, and you're just going to put a little check line next to it, or a tick mark, something just to signify that that voter came in. Okay? I'm going to walk you through the first one. Make sure we're all on the same page. Yes?
What's the difference of these 3 different types on the ballot?
That's how many different ballot types are within your polling place. And the ballot types that are listed on your roster, so if you go into the next page on the roster page, you see the ballot types. Those are all the ballot types that are listed within your polling place. So you guys don't have to guess what ballot type to give somebody. We're taking that part out for you, and you guys are just going to give them the exact ballot type that's listed on the roster.
So what's the meaning of those types?
Okay, so
Just like we were talking.
we will talk about it after class. Okay. So when I call out a voter, what I'd like you to do is find that voter, and where the signature box is, I want you to write the word signature. Now you guys wouldn't do this on election day. On election day, the voter writes their own signature. But for this exercise, I want you to go ahead and write signature. And then then you're going to take the ballot type that's in that column next to it, and you're going to transfer that 4-digit number over to the ballot selection ticket. Okay? Another thing, since you can't ask for California ID, you have to ask questions if you can't find that voter immediately. And some of the questions that I want you to think about asking are, can you verify your address? How do you spell your name? Maybe first name, maybe last name, ask them how to spell it. What did you register as? What's your full name? Do you have a nickname? Do you hyphenate your name? These are some of the questions that I want you guys to feel comfortable with asking the voters so that you can try to flesh out who they are. Because if there's a list and there's 10 John Smiths, you have a lot of digging to do to figure out who that John Smith is. But the easiest way to do if you have 10 John Smiths is verify that voter's address. You know? Okay? So let's go ahead and try to process a voter. Let's process Cynthia Cool. When you see Cynthia Cool, put signature in the signature box. Then take that ballot type that's in the column right next to the name, that 4-digit number, and put that over onto the ballot selection ticket.
Did you guys all find it?
Hold on. Then, after you've done the ballot type, go to the voter index, find Cynthia Cool's name, and put a little check mark or a dot next to it. So the ballot type that you should have gotten for Cynthia Cool was 7003. Is that what you guys got? Okay, good job. The next voter I want you guys to process is John Anderson. Do you see John Anderson? Okay, yes, if you notice there's more than one John Anderson, so don't just jump to the conclusion that you're on the right John Anderson. There's more than one. So, this gentleman in the front said, what is your address? And my address is 102 Maverick Avenue, apartment 711. So now can you find me? Okay. Another question you could ask is, how do you spell your name? Anderson. So then put the signature in the signature box and transfer the ballot type over to the ballot selection ticket. And then notate the voter index with a little check or dot.
There's double registration?
Sorry?
Is this one double registered?
So the voter index is actually...
Are they double registered? What do you mean? They might be husband and wife. Because one is Ann and one is Joe.
That's where you check. Not on the roster pages. So you want to
These are
check
different because his
that.
name's spelled different.
So,
Yes.
what happens if there are like 3 John Smiths there, okay? And then someone can be claimed to be John Smith, and then his address doesn't match any of them. Okay.
We'll give him another one. Oh, no. If his address doesn't match, he needs to go provisional.
But if there's just one John Smith and his address.
It doesn't matter. If his address doesn't match, he has to go provisional because he might not be eligible to vote for the same things that's in his old area, his old residence.
他那个在那边骗
It's like this one. I just update requires. We do like,
No, I
if
get
the address doesn't match, go to the other.
No, I'm going to tell you his address in a moment.
We'll get there.
Okay.
You're quick. Too quick for me.
You're like that person who reads ahead, huh?
对，没有要看地址，要发出来他的那个。
Well, you guys would have no way to know if they were registered or not. You guys don't have a computer system. So yes, we've allowed them to vote, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they get to, and I'll get to that. Okay. So the ballot type that you should have gotten for John Anderson was 7001. Okay, you guys are cooking now. The next voter I want you to process is Dave Braun. Braun, B-R-A-U-N. Do you notice in the remarks column next to David
In the
Braun?
process
Dave
on the
Braun?
election.
Do you notice
So
it
on
says
the video,
anything?
you give
I know you do.
There'll be those
It
little
says
tiny.
update card required.
This is just for the exercise there on the.
Right.
So in the remarks, column next to Dave Braun's name, it says update card required. And what that is it's a prompt from us to you guys, that we need an additional document filled out. So you would process them the way you processed the last 2 voters, but in addition, when you give them the ballot selection ticket, you're gonna give them this update card. And what this means is that we're getting mail back. Possibly they forgot to add their address, their apartment number, or maybe they transposed 2 of the letters in their address. So either way, we need to have them fill this out, this update card. We want them to fill it out at the polling place, because the chances are if they don't fill it out at the polling place, next election, it's going to say the same thing, update card required. So we do want to try to get them to fill it out there, and then the voter would leave this at the ballot station. So they'd fill it out there and leave it at the ballot station. But they'd process just like we did the last 2 voters. They still sign the roster, and they'd still get a ballot selection ticket. Okay?
So this,
Go ahead.
sorry, so this information already provided by the computer system. It's not something we get by asking them. That is something required.
Yes, you're gonna tell the voter that this is a prompt that the election office is telling you guys that we need them to fill out one of these cards. So you're not gonna fill it out. It'll already say that printed inside the voter roster. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, so we don't put anything here in the remarks column.
No. The remarks column is only for us to give to you guys.
But if the person, when he signed, he said, oh, I just recently changed my residence.
If they recently changed their residence, maybe they moved into Martinez and they're in San Ramon. So they wouldn't be eligible for the same things as they were eligible at their previous address. So they would go to the eligibility review station in that case, and they'd get one of these. We put their ballot in it, because we don't know if they're eligible to vote where they are. We can't determine their eligibility for voting on what they're voting for. So their ballot is just like a regular ballot, but it goes into this envelope so that we can determine their eligibility after the election.
And also, in that case, could we ask them to update, to fill out the update form?
Nope, they would fill out this, because this ends up being the update form. Because it asks for their address and their birth date and everything. We match it with the system, and it has their new address and their previous address
But
on
what
this.
if they move just to the next street, very close to the original house? They need to update this address, right?
They would
No,
would
just
vote.
within the same city.
It doesn't matter. Maybe there's a water line that runs between their neighborhoods. Maybe there's a town line. Maybe
There are
there's
different
a.
ballot types in the same city sometimes.
We just don't do any judgment, just, okay, if address not match or update, go to the.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Okay. So the next voter that I want you to process is James Nelson. What? Nelson, Nelson. So what, that's right, so you can't find this person, and instead of sending them over to get one of these pink envelopes at the eligibility review station, because you can't find them, you're gonna ask some questions. What did you register as? Do you hyphenate your name? Do you have a nickname? Questions you wanna ask to flush this person out. In this case, I am so sorry, I totally registered as James Carter Nelson. That's how I used to go, but now I'm James Nelson. So, James Carter Nelson. Can you find me now?
Yeah.
James Carter Nelson? Yeah. So, this happens. Sometimes people register maybe 10 years ago. And they don't remember how they registered as, and they go by something else now. So, you want to ask these questions to try to find out who this person is. Now, another thing to keep in mind is because the roster is split into 3 different books, A to F, G to O, and P to Z, James Nelson is standing in the G to O line because he thinks his last name is Nelson rather than Carter Nelson. He should actually be in the A to F line so that his roster would cover Carter Nelson. And in that case, you're going to just have him go in front of the line for A to F, because he's already been standing in line. We don't need him to stand in line twice. Go in front of everybody else that's in A to F, get Carter Nelson in, he'll put his signature down and get his ballot selection ticket at that roster. Does that make sense? Okay. The next voter that I want you to process is Jill Baker. Well, don't just assume that my name is Jillian, maybe it's not. Well, my full name is Jillian Baker. So it is Jillian Baker in this case, but you don't want to just assume it's Jillian Baker, maybe it's not Jillian Baker. You know, maybe it is just Jill. I don't know, that's not my name.
Yeah, always ask.
So you always have to ask, not just assume, oh, Jillian Baker, put you in right here. You always have to ask and make sure that you're getting the right ballot type to the right voter. Okay?
So ask the address.
Yes, you should verify the address.
We should, right? If they cannot answer the right, it cannot give the right address, we need to send something, right? They cannot do vote, right?
If their address is incorrect in here, and it's not the correct address that they're giving you, then you would send them over to that eligibility review table.
Okay.
So you'll move them right along the line.
Okay.
Okay? So what did you guys think about that, processing voters at the roster station? Hard? Fairly easy, you just have to remember to ask those questions. It was hard?
So I think basically one person will be
Yes. That's right, 3 people. 3 people will be at the table. Yes, you won't be doing all that, that would be crazy. We only want 1 person per roster. There's 3 rosters on the table, so there'll be 1 person, and if you don't know, you can, help me out a little bit.
Hey.
You got my back, right? Or at least my shoulder, help me out. So, well, if there's a long line and you still need assistance, but if you really can't figure it out, you can send them over to the eligibility review station, and they can look in their roster where they have a little bit more time to process. And if they do see them in the roster, then they'll come back over to your roster and they'll say, they're actually right here. They'll cut in front of everybody again, we'll get them taken care of, and it'll be done. So it's not like if you can't find them, I just send them away. If they're found at the other table, they'll come right back. That's okay. It happens.
Can we ask them to write down the print signature so that will for us easy to get the name, to find their name out?
I believe you can. Her question was, can you have them write down their name?
Yeah.
Because you cannot have them. So people are supposed to bring in their sample ballot that has their name written on it. In the case that they don't, some people have written down their name, but you can't ask for any identification, or you can't say, well, give me your credit card, and so. So.
Okay. Can you please spell your last name to me, something like that?
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's.
Can you spell it for me?
Okay, so if his pronunciation is not clear, I can ask him to write down his name, give a piece of paper to write down the name, so that.
I believe that's something. No.
I think you can. I mean, if it's like, if you ask them a couple of times, how do you, the spelling of their last name, they'll probably just be so upset, they'll like volunteer it. Fine.
Well, we had a lady yesterday ask, and she had a very long name, and you couldn't even understand most of it.
Yeah.
And I was like, how do you spell that? She was like R-J-A-N. I was like, R-J? Okay. In cases like that, you might need somebody to write it down, or go very slowly. R-J-A-N-D-R,
I think the whole goal of the not asking for voter identification, I think as long as you're making a good faith effort to not ask for their identification or something, but if you're struggling with the last name sort of thing, it's like a last resort almost to get the last name.
So I cannot show him. Oh, can you? No.
Well, actually, when you're verifying address, it's okay to do that. So I don't see why it wouldn't be okay. I mean, if you're verifying address and you say, "Is this your address?" Because some people don't want to say their address out loud. I don't want other people to hear that.
Right.
So you can point down and say, "Is this you?" Oh yeah, that's me. Okay. So that's another way to do it.
Yeah. So the question, if somebody bring their sample ballot, so we just assume that's correct. Is that You don't need to ask any question. Say, hey, your sample ballot, your name, your address, everything there. Compared to our.
Yeah, you guys can't police them. You have to just trust that they're giving you the right information. You guys don't have enough information. You don't have your own computer to look them up and find them. So you're just going to have to trust that the ballot they're giving you is the correct one.
Yes, just to be clear, I think that, there's a signature column.
Oh,
they
so
sign it,
yeah.
and then it's used. We'll check against the signature on file. The signature is not not unchecked. Will be checked against the signature on file,
You
right?
have the signature specimen? I don't think so.
What's that?
You have a signature specimen?
Signatures. Yeah. Well, the way our whole signature checking and stuff works is we have everybody's. When you register to vote, you sign your ballot card, or you signed your or if you registered to vote online, it uses your DMV signature. So that's how we go back and check. So if somebody comes up and says, my name is James Ryan, I'm here to vote, and then they sign it and they're trying to be fake about it, we're gonna know the signature is not gonna be the same. And when it goes back to our office, we're gonna compare
We
it.
we signature check with their history of signatures. So anything, if their signature changed a bunch of times throughout the years, we have a history of their signatures to match it up against, to make sure that it's accurate, to make sure it's still that person.
But you don't typically check, right? It just maybe the
Fraud issue.
What?
But you don't typically check if
No, it's checked. Signature is checked. There's a machine. I was told someone from your office came to our Rotary Club. We discussed the Rotary is, the signature first to the machine check. The machine cannot recognize that there is some team to verify.
Correct. Yeah, but it goes through the machine. That's for vote by mail. It goes through the machine. Is a first pass to check it, and if the machine doesn't pick up that it's the same signature, then it goes to we go through a series of human. We have one department checks it, and then the assistant registrar checks it, and then the registrar. So we just go through a series of going through to make sure that there's no fraud taking place.
Okay.
Just good. So let me understand, clerk, right? They come in. So they in there, I find it here, I say, okay, you go ahead and sign. Is that the way?
Yes.
Okay.
You don't even have to turn it around. They could sign upside down. Yeah.
Oh.
If you don't have time to turn it around, the line is big, you could just say, here, sign right there. People sign upside down all the time. Doesn't matter if it's upside down or right side up. If you have time to turn it around, go ahead. If you don't, just pass it over.
If obviously you decide a different, wrong place, what does it do?
Okay, so you guys have to be careful about that, right? That's your guys' job. The roster is going to be gray, white, gray, white, gray, white. That kind of helps the voter. If they see their names in gray, they probably sign in gray. We have poll workers that bring their rulers so that the voter can make sure they stay in that line. Sometimes though that doesn't happen, right? They sign in the line right below them.
Oh, yeah.
In the cases like that, we just draw an arrow to that voter, and then when the voter comes in, they're like, "Hey, I haven't voted yet. Please sign above." We'll write a little arrow down to the other name. So that happens a lot, actually. Yes.
I live in Livermore. I belong to Alameda.
That's okay.
So
you can still be a poll worker
You
in
can still be a
Contra Costa
poll worker
County.
here in Contra Costa.
Thank you. Don't worry.
You could,
You're a worker now.
You can volunteer, doesn't matter.
You just have to be registered in the state of California.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you can work in any county. Contra Costa?
You've already been through the training.
Welcome to Contra.
You've already been through the training.
So, yes.
Okay. So on that day, what should we bring with us? That day, do we need to bring water or something?
Yes, you guys should definitely bring water. Well, when you talk to your inspector, that's when you ask all these questions.
Okay.
What can we bring? Is everybody bringing food, or some places are like in clubhouses and they get catered food. So you need to ask. You need to find out from your inspector what's the situation there. But likely you'll bring your own food, you'll bring your own water, bring enough for the whole day. Okay. Any other questions? Okay, moving on. This is the other station that we think you're gonna work at, and it's called the ballot station. We think that you'll see 3 main types of voters when you're there. The first one being the regular voter. This is the voter that you're gonna see the most often. So when the voter comes in, he's gonna give over the ballot selection ticket. The 2 clerks that are at the table are then gonna look at it and compare it with the bottom of the ballot. The ballot type is located at the bottom of the ballot. In this case, the ballot selection ticket says 7003 and that ballot says 7003. The ballots are comprised of 3 cards, an A card, a B card, and a C card. So make sure you tear off all 3 cards off of the same tablet. Then compare it again to make sure that you have the right ballot, that it matches the ballot selection ticket. Ask your voter to go to the voting booth or to the automark and then put that ballot selection ticket on the spindle.
I like the smile.
So the ballot selection ticket goes on this spindle. And one reason is that we don't want paper all over the floor on election day. Another reason is that once the ballot selection ticket has a hole through it, it can't be used again. It can only be used one time. It's good for one time only. So you make sure to put it on there. The next type of voter that we think you'll see is a voter who's going to bring you an envelope because they went to the eligibility review station and they're going to bring you one of these. This is how this voter is processed. They're called a provisional voter. And they're going to fill out the white part of this envelope. They come over to the ballot station and give it over. But if you notice, there's no ballot type listed here, so we don't know what ballot to give them. They're in the wrong polling place. So we're going to pull off 3 cards off the top of any of the tablets, but make sure it's all the same tablet. An A card, a B card, and a C card. One person is going to give a receipt, and the other person is going to fold, but not in thirds, not like that. All the way up in half. Then fold it one more time in half, and then give it to the other clerk. They're going to tuck it inside that envelope and then direct the voter to go vote. When the voter goes over to vote, they're either going to vote or they won't. It's up to them. They put it back into this envelope and they seal it. We also have glue sticks if they don't want to lick it. And then it goes into this blue ballot bag because all envelopes go into the blue ballot bag. Okay? So 2 things were happening at that table. One was the folding. Okay, so it used to be done in thirds, but that made wonky because who can measure a third all the time? Nobody. So now we do it in halves. So make sure that you fold it in half so that it matches up, and then fold it again in half. And the reason the folds are so important is because they match the same folds in the vote by mail, ballots, and then they can be processed easier into the machine. Whereas if they're folded like an origami, it's a lot more difficult to take the creases out of those ballots. Does that make sense? Okay. The other thing that happened was the clerk gave a receipt, and this receipt is on the back of this provisional envelope. And what it is it has a barcode on it and a number that's identical to the one on this envelope. So 35 days after the election, this voter who voted this envelope can go online with their receipt and see if their ballot was eligible and counted. Okay? The next voter that you'll see is the voter who makes a mistake. This is called spoiling the ballot. And this happens also. Here's our voter. As you can see, he's made a mistake. He's going to bring that ballot over to the ballot station. Take a look at it, and we're going to swap it out for the exact same ballot, so the same ballot type. Swap it out. On the old one that he made a mistake on, we're going to write spoiled over the top of all 3 cards and write a line through these timing marks. The reason for the line through the timing marks is that if somebody maybe got to put this in the scanner wouldn't be able to read it because it has a line going through those timing marks, and the scanner will start beeping and making a lot of noise. It'll let you guys know that you got to come over and see what's going on. Spoiled ballots have a place, they go in the spoiled ballot bag. So you'll compare the old one with the new one, just to make sure you've got the right ballot, and then you'll issue the new ballot to that voter and send them back over to go vote in the voting booths or at the Automark. So all spoiled ballots end up in this bag. If the voter makes a mistake on their ballot and they want, they went through the first card and the second card and then they made a mistake on the third card and they want to use their old ballot as a guide to help them go through the next ballot, they can do that, but you still need to write spoiled on all of the cards and put a line through it. And then when you do that, you say, after you vote your ballot, I do need you to bring those spoiled cards back to me because they go in this bag, not in the M100 scanner. Okay?
So we write the spoiled first, and then
Yes.
give them to.
Yes, you want to make sure that they're not running around with two ballots.
Right.
So you want to make sure to spoil all three cards and then put a line right over it. So like this one.
Yeah.
Spoiled, line right through the timing marks. But you'll do that on all three of the cards. The ballots are on the tablets as A, B, C, A, B, C, A, B, C, all the way down. So when you're going to give a ballot to a voter, you're going to make sure that you give them the A card, the B card, and the C card. And when you spoil it, you want to spoil the A card, the B card, and the C card. Does that make sense? Spoil in threes.
You need to, the line is spoiled on both sides?
Nope, it doesn't need to be on both sides, just on one side, with the line going through the timing marks.
Just enough so you know that it's done.
Okay. So now a little bit of a rehash. If a voter comes in with this purple envelope, do you think that it goes in this M100 scanner? Do you think it goes in this generic supply box?
No.
Do you think it goes in this blue ballot bag?
Yeah.
It does. Goes all envelopes in the blue ballot bag. Good job. If a voter fills out their ballot, does it go into this Automark? Does it go into this M100 scanner? Does it go into this green transport box? Or does it go into the official ballots box? What do you guys think?
B.
It goes into B.
Nice.
One card at a time. It'll not all three cards, one card at a time goes into that middle ballot box.
So the feeding the cards by
Yep, it goes into
voter
this
or
little
by
slot.
The voter.
The voter.
The voter puts in their own card.
The voter puts their own cards in, one card at a time. They go into this machine and drop down in this box, and
And it
they
can go
stay in
any-
this box
any-
all night.
It can go in any way.
It can go in any way. It can go in this way, that way, backwards, any way. Just to make it a little bit easier for the voter, it doesn't matter which way they put it in, just as long as it goes in one card at a time.
So the face up, face down. is-
Face down, face up, backwards, left, right.
But I have to follow ABC.
It doesn't have to go in order. It can be CBA or CAB. It can be any way, just as long as all three cards go through. Even if they didn't vote on all three cards,
Right.
even if they only voted on one contest, all three cards need to go through. Okay? So if a voter fills out their provisional envelope, puts their ballot in it, does it go into this blue ballot bag?
Yeah.
Does it go into this provisional envelopes insert sheet bag?
Huh?
Blue generic supply box or the scanner? Which one do you think? Hey, that's right. All envelopes go into this blue ballot bag. Okay. Any questions about that?
So, okay, so the voter comes in and then I found the person and then he signed it. I give him the, like a tag and then go there pick up the ballot.
At the
And
ballot
then-
station, yeah?
Right. How can you identify that is that person from the ballot? Because the ballots I just tear it off, like take those three pieces of paper, give it to him, right?
Yes.
So how can we know this is the ballot from John Schmitz?
Because the people at the roster station are going to fill out with the ballot type that's listed on the roster.
Right.
So everybody on the roster has a ballot type that's associated to their name.
Yeah.
The people at the roster station write it on here. And when they pass this note over to the ballot station, the ballot station has that ballot type. As we were going
Right.
through the...
It's a ballot type. So if, for example, this one is 7003,
Yes?
and then he'll take this car, go there, get the ballot of 7003, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
But how can I know he put in this vote and this ballot? That's his. That's Zhang not.
Another person coming in, right?
They already.
On this
Okay, you
behalf,
guys
another person.
can't police that. The only,
It's just okay. I'm the voter.
yes,
I come in and I get that car. I go to another desk,
Yes.
get my ballot, right? And then I fill in. I mean, vote.
yeah.
How can I know this is my vote in the future?
Oh, the ballots are anonymous.
Ballots are anonymous.
Yeah, you don't need
There's-
to know.
You don't get to know,
Only vote by mail.
That's why
only
it's,
vote by mail or provisionals, but even then,
even then, once we take them out of the, I mean, once our office processes them and takes the ballots out of the envelopes, doesn't, we can't go.
they don't
we're
belong
not
to
gonna go-
anybody.
Yeah,
They're completely anonymous. That's how we do, that's how we
And
watch
then
our
when you do the
ballots.
statistics, you might more based on this. Say this person voted.
That's right, that's how we know that person
we
came in and
just,
voted.
we just know they
There's
came
no
in and voted.
receipt or anything like that for the person that comes in and votes, because when they put their ballot into the scanner, it's gonna tally all of the ballots that go into that machine.
Oh, so nobody knows who.
So nobody knows who's who.
Nobody knows who.
But you still sign the ballot, right? At the
No,
end?
you
don't sign the ballot.
Only the mail-in ballot you sign, right?
The vote
No,
by
you
mail
just sign the
envelope.
envelope.
You
Envelope.
sign the
You
Oh,
envelope.
you sign the envelope, not
Yes.
the ballot.
Not the
So
ballot.
ballot is anonymous.
The ballot
Ballot
is
is
anonymous.
anonymous,
So
yes.
basically, if another person fake that person, you don't know.
You don't know. You guys don't have any computers up there to back it up.
Then the next
just
question is, do this
How many?
signatures will be verified? or
Yes, yes.
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 Signatures are verified, yes.
Yeah, you're
But you can
completely-
send somebody else's name there.
But the signature.
The signatures are verified in Martinez. We go through a vigorous process to make sure that we're doing all the checks and balances needed to identify and make sure the correct person came in to vote.
That's like what we do after like the weeks after election day, processing all that.
But
making-
still, like I go in, claim I'm Zhang like put the address there, I sign in, and I get ballot, and then because ballot is anonymous, but ballot still counted. Although you can catch, I mean, me is like the fake one, but ballot still counts, right?
Yeah, that was outstanding hand.
Yes, if something like that happens, do talk to your inspector.
I mean, I will not be
This
able
is
to.
definitely an
tell.
inspector question.
Okay.
I don't have an answer for that scenario, as that hasn't really happened to our knowledge. Now, you know, I don't have an answer for that, but I can get back to you. I've got your card, so I can find out from my superior and write you an email back if you would like that.
In the past, I mean, you used to stamp and then your hand, but after you vote, and then you don't do that anymore.
There's not a stamp, but there is a sticker, an I voted sticker that it's kind of it's possible that other places do that, but we don't do that in Contra Costa. We give you a sticker. We don't brand you.
No.
No stamps for you.
That's kind of preventing.
Oh, I get, yeah.
No, we don't do that.
I guess because we don't check ID, right? You're not allowed to check ID, so there is possibility, right, for people fake the signature and then not the real person to come
It
in.
is possible, but you know, it's a federal law that you break right there.
Yeah,
And is it really worth going to
perjury,
prison over wanting to double vote? I don't know. It's worth that.
It's not specific to California. Yeah. Entire country, right? You cannot take ID, right?
No.
It's just California.
No, California.
California state law.
It's one of the few that doesn't.
Okay, I got it.
So I'm gonna move on about what happens when the polls close. The polls close at 8 o'clock sharp. But anybody who's standing in line, they still get the right to vote, because they were already standing in line. But anybody who comes after 8 o'clock, they've missed their window. So what we want is a poll worker to stand at the end of that line so nobody can continue to get in line. And if somebody comes over and they say, hey, I was here at 8 o'clock, you can look at your cell phone and say, actually it's 8:01, the polls have closed, and you've missed your opportunity. Because it's a hard stop there at 8 o'clock. So what is happening?
Time, which one you smile? So some people argue, oh, mine is still 7:59. Is that possible?
Well, your cell phone should be
Bring your cell
on,
phone.
it should be the correct, yeah, you wanna bring your cell phone, not your time watch. You wanna bring your cell phone, cause it's
like my
pretty
cell phone.
accurate.
Should inspect that is a official record, right? Which, I don't know.
Don't worry about that. They will
Don't, I think that case is okay.
If you have any concerns and you don't wanna be the guy standing at the end of that line, go ahead and tap
Somebody else do
the
that.
button. Somebody else will go do that.
Like, I'm on this roster.
Okay, so the other things, okay, so I'm almost done with this presentation, you guys have been really awesome, but we're at the closing part of this presentation, it's the home stretch for this, this whole class. So I do wanna get over some of the really important things that happen, and that is counting. Counting is really important at the end of the night, and what you guys are responsible for is counting the signatures that happen in the roster. You guys are gonna count all the envelopes that are in this bag, so that's the provisional envelopes and the vote by mail envelopes out of this bag. And this is how it's done. We use something called the 10 count method, and we want you to use it as well, because what you do is you count in stacks of 10, rather than if it's in the end of the night and you're at 256, 257, 258, and somebody comes and talks to you, and you forgot. Yeah. And you're like, oh. It's a lot easier to count back up to 10 than it is up to 255. So we count in stacks of 10. And this is how it's done. You're going to break the seal on this bag and open it up and then dump everything out. Make sure all the envelopes come out. Sometimes they get stuck in here, so make sure everything's out. Then separate the pink envelopes from the purple envelopes. Different piles. This is done in teams of 2, as all counting is done in teams of 2. So you count the first stack of 10, and then your partner is going to come over and confirm that those are indeed stacks of 10. After that's done, your counts need to be the same. If it's not the same, you guys have to recount. So count carefully. Then you're going to put the total number of counted envelopes on this insert sheet, and you'll put all of the envelopes into this bag. After that's done, everything is going to go into this bag, the blue ballot bag. So the bag goes in the blue ballot bag. The same thing is done for these provisional envelopes. They also have their own bag. So you'll count in stacks of 10. Your partner will confirm. You guys make sure you have the same count. Don't want to count again. You'll put the total on this insert sheet and put all the provisional envelopes then into this bag. And then it'll also go into the blue ballot bag. Not on top, into it. Okay. The other thing that you guys are going to count are signatures in the roster, and we're going to do that activity right now using the signatures that you guys wrote in and the existing signatures that are already on there. Okay? So I want you to take a look at that page before you start counting. And if you notice, at the bottom, there's a box. Okay, so at the bottom of each of your roster pages, there's a box. That's where the total number goes. Okay. So on the very first page, you should have 2 signatures. Yeah. That's what goes in this box, the number 2. And you do the same thing for page 2 and page 3, and so forth in your roster. Then you're going to transfer that number over onto page 1 in your signature counting worksheet. So for page 1, in the box that says number 2, you're going to go ahead and put page 1, number 2 on the signature counting worksheet. You'll do that for each of the pages. So for page 1, page 2, page 3, all the way up to, I don't know, 250, something like that. So while this tool isn't necessary, it's not mandatory that you use it, but we find it incredibly helpful at the office when we're counting, because again, 2 people have to count. If they don't have the same totals, they got to count again. Yep. So the sheet really helps. The sheet is really helpful, especially when you're counting lots of signatures.
This will be one of those like tools where you guys will be able to get out later or earlier in the evening.
That's right.
Yeah.
So if you don't want to get out later, this is to help you.
It's helpful.
Yes.
But then those ballots in the back are not counted yet, right?
Well, so these also get counted. As I just showed the video, we count the purple envelopes and the pink envelopes, and we put them in this bag.
Right.
But there's a lot of jobs happening at the same time.
Yeah.
No, I mean, they're not scanned. They're not scanned for the skill results.
No, that's a separate task.
It's automatically counted.
You guys have to count these. You count the envelopes. But when you're counting the signature roster, go ahead and total all the numbers that you have on your signature counting worksheet. And then you're going to transfer the total number on your signature counting worksheet onto this cover. So where it says, we hereby certify the number of voters who voted, that's where the total grand total goes. You should have 11. Is that what you guys got, 11?
Yes.
Excellent.
Okay. Also, while there's lines for 10 people to sign, 10 people don't need to sign this. Just you and the clerk who counted the signatures. So only 2 poll workers need to sign. It doesn't need to be an inspector. It can be 2 clerks. It can be an inspector and a clerk. Just the 2 people. It doesn't need to be. It can be just 2 people. Okay? So that's how you would count signatures at the very end of the night. And then at the very, very end of the night, after all the counting is done and you guys are so pooped and you're ready to go home, you're going to put away all the equipment. So you'll just put it back in a pile in the side of the room. It doesn't need to be anything fancy. Just put it all together in the side of the room. You're going to take all the posters down. If you put a flag outside, you're going to bring it back on in. If you guys had a potluck or you had coffee in the kitchen or crumbs all over the place, you want to sweep those up a little bit, pack your trash. The polling places are also volunteers, so we want to treat their place with respect, so we want to come back next year. And then you guys all came as a team in the morning. You're going to leave as a team at night. Nobody's going to leave anybody else behind. You guys are all go together at the end, so that nobody's left doing the duties of what 5 people can do, because that will take forever. They won't get home until midnight. That's not really fair, so we want to make sure that we all leave together. Okay, so now we're at the end of the training. Do any of you want to be poll workers for Contra Costa County? And if you do, we'd like you to fill out an application. Please raise your hand if you're interested.
I have a question here. So, because we talked about those dual language, and then maybe you can talk about that, what we can do, like using, because most of us know Chinese, how we can help.
Okay, so on the application on the application, I'm going to get it to you. There is a place on the application and it says, do you speak another language? And if you do, you go ahead and you write what languages that you speak. If you end up working in a polling place, and you most likely will, that needs that language, we'll give you $10 additional for the language that you speak, and then you would be a bilingual poll worker at that polling place. So on the application, no, those are filled out.
Okay.
So not talking about the money, how we can help using the additional language.
That is bizarre.
Ask the inspector.
I had them. I'm sorry, give me 1 moment. Yeah, those will be great. Those are perfect. Nice. Okay, who would like to fill out an application to work in Contra Costa? Are you guys high school students?
Yes.
Okay, we have a special form for you.
Nice. All right. Excellent.
Okay. Pay no attention to this room stuff at the bottom. Paul is going to tell you about this.
Okay, so
Okay, and I will answer any questions.
it's the
Let me
same
get this out to
program,
you.
everything
What's the
is
question,
different
sorry?
from you guys.
Yes, questions also?
So what's when we
So if you want to work in Contra Costa County as a poll worker, and I'm giving you an application to fill it out.
for this coming election or?
Yes, for working on election day.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yes.
So they are right now on,
We have to fill out right now?
Yes, please fill this out right now. This will help us get you into the system quickly, and then you guys will be contacted in the next week or so after we process. We'll send this in today, tomorrow when we get into the office.
Do you give us a detailed address, because the time is so long for the voting day. I have to communicate with my husband how to arrange the place, so I cannot decide whether I can do it today.
Okay. Okay, well, you can fill it out, and if you don't think that you would be able to work, just call us and let us know that, you know, you did fill out the application, but something's come up and you're no longer able to work. That's also okay. This isn't like locking you in and you can't get out. No, it's not like that. So, you know, you just fill it out, and if you decide that you can't fill it out, You can mail it to us also.
Okay, good. Thank you.
If you decide that you don't want to work, you're not locked into it. You just call us and let us know that you can no longer work.
So,
Yes.
About my Alameda question.
Yes, your Alameda question.
Yeah, which one is better for me?
Well, you've already done this training. Alameda training.
Yeah, welcome to
Can you
Contra Costa.
transfer the application or request to Alameda?
I mean, seriously, which way is better?
I don't know because I don't know what Alameda does. I'm only familiar with what Contra Costa County does.
Yeah,
Sounds like your friends would like you to say.
you're trained already.
It's okay if you don't want to work in Contra Costa County. What? It's totally okay. Don't worry about it. But you might have to go to, if you do want to work as a poll worker, you will probably have to go to Alameda training. Because they do things different.
Probably the same, right?
No way.
Really fast.
It's very different. They have different machines, they have different procedures, different jobs, different roles.
Probably the Friday of this week, the last you would want to mail it.
Yeah, you can pick whatever, you can pick more than one, and if there are certain areas you like more than others, you can circle them. Thank you, am I sweating crazy? A little bit, but I'm doing okay. Yeah, it is. Well, it's a little hot here. Yes.
I can put them multiple.
You can put more than one, you can check box more than one. If there's areas that you prefer to work in more than others, you can circle them.
I don't need to write that.
No, you don't need to. It's an option if you know a polling place that you're interested in working at, you can put that there, but if you don't worry about it. Yes, absolutely. Nancy, Taylor, very nice to meet you.
Did you guys take any, like, you guys do any endorsements from me?
If you're not on the ballot, you're good to go.
Yeah.
okay, excuse me. We take a book, Mr. Okay, people, after you finish, you can come to the front. Let's take a group picture. How's that?
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, I will scan it.
Okay, that'd be great. That'd be great.
Yeah, 1, 2, 3.
Okay, team, come here. Come to the front. Hurry, hurry.
Team poll workers.
Yeah.
Team Contra Costa poll workers. This is our other trainer.
Demonstrate photo.
Okay, come to here. Come to the front.
There's not enough room. Looks good to me.
Okay, go, come to the front.
Yeah, you guys have done like this.
Okay. Hurry up, hurry up. Ladies in the front, ladies in the front.
要这样的，要不然会误会了。 那你没孩子那没关系，随便拿，不是为了这样喝酒，哪里有时间？没有拍了吧？
Sue,
Hurry, hurry.
come here. You're part of the picture. Come here.
I did so much. What time? Over here, Mama Bird.
Okay.
Let's get it ready. 1, 2, 3. Another one. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much for
Thank you so much. You know, you can get some more credit if you need specific
after the election.
Did you guys give your guys
后来决定让他去那个6点9点小孩子所以要是小孩子要上学，他应该可以换班。